From the very beginning, God said the lights in the heavens were more than just decoration. Genesis chapter 1 tells us they were set in place for signs and for seasons. Yet so much of Western Christianity has forgotten how to read those signs. What if one of the rarest objects ever discovered, Comet 3I Atlas, also known as Atlas, is more than just ice and dust flying through space? What if it is a messenger from God placed in motion long ago to tell us what time it is on his calendar? Genesis 1:14 says, "Let there be lights in the heavens, and let them be for signs and for seasons." Throughout history, God's people understood that the heavens were his timepiece. But in our modern church culture, we've largely ignored that truth. 3 classic works help us recover it. Francis Rolleston's Mazzaroth, E.W. Bullinger's The Witness of the Stars, and Joseph Seiss' The Gospel in the Stars. These authors from the late 1800s and early 1900s show that the constellations themselves tell the story of redemption, from the promise of the seed of the woman in Virgo to the triumph of the Lion of Judah in Leo. Now let's talk about this comet. Comet Atlas is only the 3rd interstellar object ever observed. Scientists estimate it could be more than 20 kilometers wide, over 100 times bigger than the first 2 interstellar visitors, Oumuamua and Borisov. It's traveling at speeds twice as fast as any rocket humanity has ever built, and unlike typical comets, it doesn't trail a tail behind it. Instead, there seems to be a glow ahead of it, almost like a light facing forward. Its trajectory is hyperbolic, meaning it doesn't belong to our solar system, and as it passes through, it will cut across 7 constellations. That number isn't random. In biblical astronomy, 7 is the number of completion. Here's where it gets really interesting. In September and October of 2025, while God's people are observing the fall feasts from Leviticus 23, trumpets, atonement, and tabernacles, this comet is passing through the very constellations that tell the story of Christ. At trumpets, it moves from Libra, the scales of justice, toward Virgo, the virgin who holds the promised seed. At atonement, it comes near Mars at Virgo's feet, the red planet, often tied to war and blood. At tabernacles, it enters Virgo's womb near Mercury, the messenger, while the sun shines in Virgo's hand at the wheat, the promised seed, and Venus, the bright morning star, is at her head. This is not coincidence. The heavens are declaring something profound. So here is the question. Could it be that the Lord himself set this ball of light in motion, timed to arrive at this exact season in history? The prophet Isaiah said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord." When Jesus read that passage in Luke chapter 4, he stopped before the next phrase, "the day of vengeance of our God." I believe Comet Atlas could be signaling the beginning of that next phase, the Final Jubilee, beginning on the Day of Atonement, a season when God judges wickedness across the earth while at the same time bringing his people into the fullness of the mystery hidden in ages past, Christ in us, the hope of glory. Tom Horn in Zeitgeist 2025 and author Josh Peck of The Lost Prophecies of Qumran, in their work on the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Essenes calendar, point out that these ancient writings carried forward a Jubilee timeline that seems to converge right now in our generation. According to their deciphering, the Essenes looked for a climactic Jubilee that would mark both judgment and restoration in the fall of 2025. If that's true, what we are seeing with Comet Atlas could be God's way of underlying this very moment, the doorway into the final Jubilee. As this ball of light travels through the constellation of Virgo during Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and the holiest day of the year on God's calendar. Isaiah 66 verse 7 speaks of a woman giving birth before her pains come. Then Isaiah 66:19 goes on to say, "I will set a sign among them, and they will proclaim my glory among the nations." Could it be that Comet Atlas is such a sign? A heavenly light placed in the sky to awaken not just Israel, but the nations, calling God's people back to himself and preparing them to be offered as a clean vessel for his glory. The Hebrew word here for sign is ot. It's the very same word used in Genesis chapter 1 when God said he set the lights in the heavens for signs and for seasons. So Isaiah is pointing us to a divinely appointed marker in the heavens, not just a symbol, but a heavenly signal to the nations. Could Comet ATLAS be such a sign, reminding us to look up and recognize God's timing? Revelation 12 speaks of an event that follows two heavenly signs. The first, from verses 1 and 2, we saw fulfilled on September 23rd, 2017. We are watching and waiting for the fulfillment of verses 3 and 4 in the sign of the dragon. We're then told in Revelation 12 of the birthing of the man-child. Before the dragon can devour this child, it's caught up to God and his throne. This comet is pictured as entering Virgo's womb. Could it be declaring the birthing of Christ in his people before the Great Tribulation begins? The heavens are giving us a countdown, and the storyline is consistent. Birth, battle, glory. Paul tells us in Ephesians 4 that the body of Christ is called to grow into unity, to become one with him. Elsewhere, we're told, Christ in us, the hope of glory. And again, for you have died, Christ who lives. All of these passages are pointing us to an invitation to become a dwelling place for Christ himself. Before Jesus returns on the clouds at the end of the Great Tribulation, he will first indwell a people who have made themselves ready, surrendered, and set apart for him. Revelation 12 goes on to tell us that this remnant will be protected in the wilderness during the Great Tribulation. And in the heavens, we see a picture of this. Comet ATLAS passing through Virgo's womb, while Venus, the bright and morning star, is also in the womb. It's as though the Lord is declaring through the heavens that Christ is being formed in his people, and that those who are ready will shine with his glory in the days ahead. I'm not saying Comet ATLAS is the fulfillment of prophecy itself, but I do believe it's a heavenly messenger, a ball of light placed in the sky at this precise moment to get us to look up and prepare our hearts. The question is this: will we ignore it, or will we listen to what the Lord is declaring through his creation? If this resonates with you, please share this video, subscribe for more, and most of all, seek the Lord about what he is speaking in the heavens today. May we be a people being ready for the Lord's return.